Another focus during the summit was the U.S. dollar. Russian President Vladimir Putin opened the summit calling for an alternative international payment system. Russia, being heavily sanctioned, blames the U.S. for using the dollar as a weapon and added that 95% of trade between Russia and China is now conducted in rubles and yuan. What could de-dollarization mean for the U.S., though? Let's bring in Jeffrey Tucker. He's the founder and president at the Brownstow Institute, as well as a senior economic columnist at the Epoch Times. Good morning, Jeffrey. And to start, let's talk about your opinion piece recently in the Epoch Times. You say that the U.S. would be better off if the dollar was not the world reserve currency. Why?
Well, that was the conclusion of the article. I know it sounds a little bit shocking, but it really has, the strength of the dollar has harmed U.S. manufacturing over many, many decades. And my argument is that we can't continue to defend the dollar as the world reserve currency and rebuild the U.S. industrial base at the same time, that we're going to have to choose one or the other. And what I suggested in light of this BRICS declaration, which I thought was interesting, never mentions the word dollar anywhere in it, is that the U.S. should have a neutral position on the rise of BRICS and worry more about the value of the dollar in terms of its domestic relationship to goods and services made in America and bought by Americans, and that should be the primary concern. The U.S. dollar is on the decline in its use in foreign exchange. That's recently been documented by the International Monetary Fund, and the U.S. has to get used to that, and I think it's not going to be a problem for us in the future.
Before we delve into the bigger picture here, can I just follow up on one thing that you said? Why is the goal to rebuild manufacturing and the goal to maintain the dollar as a reserve currency creating this tension? How do they contradict each other?
Well, it's just a simple matter of math. So long as the U.S. is the world reserve currency and the top valued currency in the world, the imports are always going to be cheap and affordable, and the U.S. exports are always going to be very expensive. So just as a matter of economics, economic reality, and the mathematics of the situation, the U.S. exports are always going to suffer because of the strength of the dollar, and imports to the U.S. are always going to be at a great advantage because of the strength of the dollar. There's one additional problem that bears mentioning here. So long as the U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency, as it has been really since about since 1944, in effect, that enables world central banks to hold it as an asset, and then to use that asset in the central bank as collateral against which governments and central banks can expand credit to fuel competitive manufacturing that eats in a kind of a mercenary way into the U.S. industrial base. That is essentially the story of what's happened to U.S. manufacturing since the 1970s, as Japan and then China continue to accumulate dollar-based assets, build on top of those to fund direct competition to U.S. manufacturing.